Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Shayna and Vanessa.
Thanks for having us. Hi, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Talk about the B word. It's kind of one thing that we like to do. B being budget.
That dreaded B word that makes us
Yeah.
quake in our boots a little bit, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Definitely has a bad rap.
It definitely has a bad rap. And I love that you two are a duo on the show today. So I would love for you to share with the listeners a bit about who you guys are, how you came together, and what your story is.
Oh, well, how long do we have? No, just kidding. Yeah. So, you heard in the intro, we're best friends and business partners, master financial coaches, but we sort of started a long time ago. We both have 16-year-old boys and we met when they were 4. So we started as buddies and they were going to school together. We were working out at the YMCA. We started going to church, a brand new church together. And 2 weeks later, we were leading a community group together. So that kind of gives you like the level of intensity that we
friends,
Insta friends, and let's run this thing. That's how we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we both had our own financial journeys, like what that looked like. And Shayna actually had a book, The Total Money Makeover from Dave Ramsey. And she kind of took it, read it.
I read it, gave it to my husband. He's like, we already do this. I was like, I don't know if that's true, babe, but whatever. So then I gave it to Vanessa and she really took off with it.
I don't love to read all that much. I always struggled as a kid. So when I got this book, I actually finished it in a week. I love the content, love the concept. I've always been financially wired. And my husband and I read it. I went to Portugal for 3 months with my kids, visiting my grandmother. My husband came out. We really decided at that point what was important to us, what really mattered, what we were about. Decided not to live like the Joneses anymore. And we sold, downsized. And at 31, I was mortgage free and debt free. And the whole wraparound story was now you're going to teach and show other people how to do this.
Yeah. And just to bookend that, we wrap back around. I've cash flowed our first family vacation to Disney World with 3 kids. And we listened to Dave the whole way there and the whole way back. And by the time we got back, my husband sold his car. We got debt free and started planning for him to retire early. And we did. In the midst of all that, we both got our financial coaching certification and decided to go into business together.
During, I will say, 2020, smack dab in the middle of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
At April 1st. So Fool's Day. That was great.
In America, I don't know if it is in Canada. It's an April Fool's Day. That's when we started our business. And we've been going ever since.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I decided to have a baby in April of 2020, right? Smack in the beginning of the pandemic. So new things are birthed.
Great times.
Yeah.
So one thing that jumped out for me when I first came across you guys was that you say you make personal finance fun.
We do.
How do you guys do that?
So one of the things that we actually pride ourselves on is taking the shame out of budgeting.
Yeah.
People listen to our conversation and we make it light and airy and interesting. And we want to remind people that yes, this topic may be taboo, or it may be taboo because that's what you've always known, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. We just want to make this a fun thing. For example, one thing that we talk about a lot, at least for me, is my husband and I, we go to the brewery and do our budget, right? We make it a fun date night. That's the vibes we want to do. And especially all of us being women talking about this topic, we want to just put maybe more of a fun, feminine touch on it. Like it doesn't have to be so serious. Right. We don't have to be scared of the math. We aren't here for any girl math, whatever. Like we can actually do this and take it seriously, but also have fun with it, hopefully.
That's a really good point there, because there's a lot of ladies that I know that I've run into in my circles that almost like turn a blind eye to money, and the man takes care of the finances. So they're just not really have a clear picture of what their finances are.
Right.
And sometimes that works out, but I think sometimes that ends very poorly for some people. So it's kind of fascinating that you guys are bringing a fun, playful spin on all of this, because money is taboo in a sense, but why? Why does it have to be that way? Money is a currency. We use money pretty much every single day to live our lives, right? So why not normalize the conversation of money? And with you ladies, let's normalize the conversation of that scary B word, the budgeting. So why does budgeting feel so hard for people?
Well,
so many reasons.
Yeah, so many reasons. A lot of the reason is because people think that they've tried it and they've failed, right? And they think they tried a particular way or method of quote unquote budgeting and didn't go well, and they think that's a failure on them. The other thing that we've been really thinking about lately is things are just more complicated than they ever were, right? If you go back 50 years, or even if you just look at your list of bills compared to what they would have had 50 years ago, there's a lot more going on with your finances. Add to that nobody taught us in school how to budget, nobody. And so you have this shame that I should already know, I'm behind. Like, and so you couple all of that with people thinking, well, math isn't really my thing. And then we're just going to turn a blind eye. We're going to stiff arm budgeting because that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
And that's why we're trying to change that conversation to what you said is money is a tool and it's part of every day of our lives. One thing that we say is it's part of everything that we want to do and accomplish, whether it's just like you mentioned your baby in April, which is what, 4 years now, 4 years old, like whether it's fun things with the kids that you want to do or vacation or travel or more serious, like be financially independent, all of that is tied to money. So we really want to look at it closely and be involved with it.
Yeah, when people come to us and we ask them about their goals, like what do you want to do with your life? What is important to you? What do you envision happening in the next 3, 5, 10 years? They always ask, does it have to be financial? And we go, well, I mean, name a goal that doesn't really tie back to money, right? Some way, shape, or form, money is tied to it. Just because you need money, it is a tool. It makes the world go round, and you need it to succeed. You need it to buy things. You need it to be generous, right? It allows you to do so much stuff. However, nobody really wants to talk about it. A lot of times people never had a good relationship with money coming up. So now, especially people that are married, so they didn't know how to do finances on their own. Then they get married and they don't know how to do finances together. And they're in this relationship. And usually one person is bearing all of that weight on their shoulders, trying to make it work while the other one is maybe working, or they're both working, but one of them is just taking on the responsibility of trying to handle their finances. And so it has become this thing that we don't want to talk about with each other, especially, right? And then when they do come down and sit down and look at the numbers, a lot of times what we say is it's probably not as bad as you think it is.
Huh.
But it's a lot of wrecking balls in your brain. You think it's worse. You think you don't know what's going on. You swipe the card and you pray that everything works and then it's going to happen. But the reality is if you sit down and look at it and just put it on paper and make a plan, I guarantee it's going to be better.
So we have a lot of people bounce to us from Dave Ramsey, and they feel whatever he's teaching, and a lot of people that are similar, it feels paralyzing. It's like, okay, I have to completely give up my life. It's very black and white. And that's why we're over here, Jenny, we're saying like, you can get out of debt and have your pumpkin spice latte. We can do both at the same time. And then they're like, okay, I might be interested in what you have to say if that's the case. So that's kind of the approach we take.
I love that. And what a perfect visual for somebody. You can have this and still be really setting yourself up for your future. If you're smart with your money now, and you guys touched on a very valid point there, the world is different today than it was even a decade ago. Things are changing. We never were taught in school how to handle money. So when you guys are getting these young adults and old adults into your little circle saying, please help us, what are some things that you ladies suggest for the people who want the pumpkin spice latte and still want to be able to have money at the end of the day?
Another one of our little taglines is we want you to be bougie on a budget, because your life is different than the next person's. What Shayna has in her budget is different than what I have in my budget. And what I believe is bougie to me is different to her, right? And so this reality of, like Shayna said, you can drink your pumpkin spice lattes and pay off debt. You can go on vacation and pay off debt. You can save for Christmas and you can fix the car tires or save up for the car tires. So we really try to make a budget. We really try to talk to people about what is important to you. What do you want to accomplish? And let's set a budget around that.
Yeah. And what we were talking about, how things are more complicated now. Well, we can also use that to our advantage. And so you don't have to have the same quote unquote operating system for your finances that you had when you're 18. You can have multiple bank accounts. And that's really the big difference that we teach people. We want, instead of you having one account that you're scrolling through to try to figure out if you have enough money to get milk at the store, or if you can go to the concert this weekend with your friends or whatever, instead of thousands of transactions to try to figure it out, we want you to separate that, which is kind of revolutionary, we know. But what we're trying to do is use this digital space that we're all in, whether we like it or not, right? We're trying to use that to our advantage. So we teach you to separate and have separate accounts for your bills, separate accounts for your spending, and then separate accounts for your savings. And that way it organizes it, and we can actually automate your budget, because your budget really is, you get your money in and then your money goes out in the form of bills, your money goes out in the form of spending, and it goes into different savings vehicles or whatever you want to call it. And so we can actually automate that entire process. So you set up your budget once, and then it's all, your money is working for you behind the scenes, which is what we all have time for. We need the money to be working for us behind the scene. We don't have time to put on like this accountant hat and start tabulating and tracking all these things. Nobody has time for that. So
yeah, and it's just the idea of making it simpler, right? So when Shanna talks about separating the accounts, based on your budget, you're deciding how much you can spend, how much you can save, how much do you want to invest, and you set it up automatically for all of this to happen. And so literally it's hands off. We know that the more that you're in your account, the more that you're touching stuff, the more mistakes that are going to happen, the more you're going to mess it up. If we can set it and forget it type of system, right? And just kind of step back and watch it happen, and then watch these accounts fill up whenever your paychecks come in, and watch your savings build up and watch your investments build up based on the automatic transfers and the automatic deductions and stuff that you have set up. We know that in the long run, you're going to have time back for yourself. You're going to have money saved, and you're going to be able to know that you have the freedom to spend.
You're so right. If you can automate something and put it on autopilot so we physically don't have to put more personal work into it at the end of the day, I think that's a golden ticket there. So what are some of your ladies' favorite tools or systems to be able to automate?
okay. The other thing with the B word, a lot of times people are telling you what to do, but they don't tell you how. And so that's why we really focus on budgeting. If you want to learn more about budgeting, that's our jam, versus other people have specialties in getting out of debt or saving for retirement and stuff. Like, we just really want to help you with it. And that is our budget system. That is exactly what you're asking. We also wanted to make it simple. We wanted our budget to reflect what you do with your hands. Okay. Not like these numbers, fixed variable expenses, whatever. Like, what do you do with your hands when it comes to your money? And that's, like we said, you have your income, it comes in, you make bill payments, debt minimum payments, you have spending, which can be for fun or for need, right? So you have gas and groceries, but then you also have personal pocket money. And we lay all that out in your spending category. And then we have the savings category. We want to see, once we're making everything happen that needs to happen, what do we want to save for? Obviously for retirement. Or do we want to save, like Vanessa alluded to, we know tires are coming up, Christmas is coming up, birthdays are coming up. We can have travel savings buckets. All of that can be also set up. So the system really is income comes in, and then money goes and stays in the bills account. And then money automatically is transferred to your spending accounts and your savings accounts every payday. And then you're automatically budgeting.
Yeah. Another thing that we like to tell people is your budget probably wasn't working before because you didn't have a system.
Right.
So you can look at numbers and words on paper and call it a budget. But if you don't know what to do with it, then it's pretty useless. So what we've come up with is an entire budget system for you to walk through. The budget has 5 categories in it. It tells you exactly what to do with your hands. Then you set it up automated, right, by paycheck. So you know exactly how much you can go where on payday. It's pretty nice. For instance, my husband gets paid every Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning, all my transfers happen, and I didn't do anything because I set that system up, right? And that's the beauty of it.
And part of that system is automatic transfers that you can set up to come in to happen whatever interval that you want. But also, you don't need an app. You don't need anything fancy. You can just use your bank app, and you can rename your bank accounts. You can reorder them. You can
hide them
if you need to, if you're that kind of person. You can set up these automatic transfers, add memos on it. And so it's just becomes, when you open your bank app, you see, well, a lot of times our clients say there's money everywhere. And it's like, yes, there is. But you'll see Shayna's spending, and you know exactly what you have to spend. When you log in and you see I have spending money, I can go in to Winners. I have $200. Okay. I gotta stay within that. But also at the same time, when I'm looking at this bank account, I also know I still have money for gas and groceries, because as a mom, that was my deal. It's like, I don't know if I have enough to go for me, and then also to go get enough food to last for the rest of the week or whatever. So really separating it makes it so easy and clear. And then also, because of the automations, it's just happening behind the scenes without you having to do anything.
And we don't recommend tracking, right? So a lot of people are like, well, you need to track, you have to use an app to track all the expenses and know exactly where everything's going. And we think that's a waste of time. We just think that's time consuming, and it's not necessary. As long as you have a couple different accounts, it doesn't matter where you spent the money in those accounts. As long as it's for the categories that you're using it, that's all you need to know. You can pull up your bank app and go, oh, I have $50 left in my spending. Oh, I got $100 left in gas and groceries until next payday. That's really all you need to know.
Well, and John Maxwell said a budget is telling your money where to go. And that's the difference, instead of wondering where it went, right? And that's the difference. A lot of times tracking your expenses is wondering where it went. And we want to be very intentional planning and telling it where to go. And that's budgeting. And so it doesn't mean that it's a free for all, but it means I know I need about $1,000 for groceries every month, and I get $500 put in that grocery account every 2 weeks. And I don't have to track anything because it's happening automatically. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And this feels like a proactive approach. And for me, I'm always like, don't put me in a box. I just don't like to follow that. But this feels like a box structure that is loose. You have a box with a category. It's not the set things like you said. So if I don't want to go to Winners that month, but I have money in the spending account, I could choose to go sign up for maybe that pottery class, right? If it's in my spend account, and I like how you have the other stuff automated. Now, do you guys have a favorite? I don't know if you guys are one to name drop, like provider in the US that you like, certain bank accounts that you find are more advantageous to set these up that maybe don't have a fee every month for making all the little different accounts and stuff.
You know, the two closest banks that we've looked at that kind of do what we want them to do is Ally and SoFi. Those are probably the two closest ones. Now, they're not perfect. We don't actually love their bucket system. They have like a savings bucket system. We don't actually love that, but you can just open up multiple accounts instead of using their system, but it's the closest, and they don't have fees, and they have high interest savings accounts, like high yield savings accounts. So as you're putting money in these separate accounts, saving for Christmas, saving for travel, you're getting 4% interest annual on that. So it's nice.
Well, and credit unions, for the most part, typically do the job as well without fees and let you open up multiple bank accounts and stuff. But I do want to go back to what you said about being put in a box. And really, we feel like what this system does is it gives you freedom to spend, right? It does give you freedom to spend. So what you're doing is with your best self, you're making a monthly plan. But it's not, you have to, it's like you get to, like, I know if I just stick within this, 200 or 300, whatever I set for my spending for whatever I want. I know that also, by the way, I'm also saving up for vacation. I'm also saving for retirement, and it's all happening automatically. And really, all I have to look is this one number. And I know, like, I can do whatever I want with this number. It can be whatever I want. This is the parameter. And again, you're bougie on a budget to your level. If you feel like 300 isn't enough, by all means, go make it more. If that's where you want your budget, that's the deal. Is we realize a lot of budgets are cookie cutter. And that's not what we're here for. I want to have more spending money, but maybe Vanessa wants to have more vacation money, right? Or whatever. So that's where we can just play with the numbers and then make it happen automatically. And by the way, you're always welcome to change it once you set it up. So,
well, and to be honest, we're a little rebelly over here.
We are.
And so when people talk about like 529 accounts and all these accounts that tells you exactly how to use your money and puts all these stipulations on it, we're like, no, thank you. Because we actually love the idea of putting it in a box, like you called it, but it's an account with guardrails, right? So here's your spending money, spend on it however you want, but here's your cap. You decided like $500 or $600 a month was good for your spending money. And that doesn't matter what you decide to spend it on, but you said that the amount was what you wanted. So it does give you the freedom. And we have some clients that first come on and they're so used to using an app to have to track every single thing that they're doing throughout the month, that literally it takes them like a couple months to get used to this freedom of, oh, all I have to do is look at my bank account number for that category, and that's it. I don't have to sit there and count every single penny and dime and figure out where I spent it, right?
Mm-hmm. I really like that. I really like the empowerment that comes from that. You are giving yourself that freedom to spend, because I'm often in different FIRE movement categories where people are really just trying to bust their way to early retirement. And that can lead them to such a place of lack and frugality because they feel like they don't have the $5 to spend or the $10 even to spend. So this would be a way to proactively be paying down your debts, proactively be paying your bills, but still give you that fun money, because life is meant to be enjoyed. Life is meant to have those experiences and have those things. So this is a very proactive way to have the life that you guys want and still be smart with your money.
And so FIRE is obviously different, or I think of it like the graduation from Dave Ramsey's stuff, right?
Yeah. I love FIRE.
Yeah. But it's the same concept of what we're saying, where you can have your pumpkin spice lattes and pay off debt. You can be very proactive about the future, but still live your life. We think you work really hard, and whatever your vision of enjoying that a little bit along the way, not just at the end, but along the way, you can set that up automatically. And the other thing that I think is important, because a lot of times what can derail those things, like these big ideas, these big plans, is unexpected, quote unquote, unexpected expenses. Okay. And that's where people are like, well, I didn't plan for that. So now I'm back a month, or I'm back 2 months, I'm set back. Right. And so that's where the savings buckets really come in. We want you to actually plan for all of them. So for our kids, like summer camps, those unexpected expenses every year, they're expensive, right? Tires for your car, the water heater that you know you're about to have to replace, right? All of these things, we can start to set up savings buckets a little bit at a time that's going over to be ready for when that thing comes, so that you don't have to completely derail this path that you're on for fire or whatever you're doing.
Well, and the reality is they're not unexpected expenses. You know that they're coming. You know that you're going to have to pay for them. I had a session this morning with a guy for his business, and he said, well, I have a lot of annual bills that I have to pay for. Do I have to put those in my budget? And I was like, yeah, because they're a bill, like, and we are going to take that amount and divide it by 12 and put it in your budget monthly. So that way you are budgeting monthly for them. And that way, when they're due, you're not having to be out a couple $100 that month and feeling like that you're set behind.
Which is what allows you what we call like to be a good investor. But if you're planning for all of that, then you can be consistent with whatever you're investing, your goals are, because you've got all of the other stuff covered of life that is going to happen no matter what.
Well, and that's our goal. We want you to be as consistent as possible. We want you to set a budget for the most part. If you look at your month to month budget, it's pretty consistent. You have the same amount for gas, same amount for groceries, spending money. If you set up your savings buckets, you probably have, that's pretty consistent. You may have like the one-off things that come up throughout the month that you hadn't planned for yet, or you don't have in a savings bucket yet. But we want you to be as consistent and as steady with that as possible. So that way it's mindless after that, right? Like, you've made the decisions, you have it on paper, you have the automatic transfer set up, and you're good.
I would love for you ladies to share, because our time is so short here today.
Oh, and also we talk a lot. You
Yeah,
can say
sorry.
it. You can say
No.
it. It's true.
For girls, we're talking about money. I honestly could sit here and talk all day, but I know people listening might be on a lunch break. They might be on a commute. They only have so
Want to
much
finish,
time,
right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would love for you guys to share what you have coming up in your world, plans with your business, and where people can reach out to get more of you guys.
Yes, absolutely. So we have completely redesigned our budget system. We are so excited. We are launching it. If you go to budgetbesties.com/Jenny, JENNI, you can check out the budget, look at it. It's so pretty. You can read all about it. You can see the testimonials about it, and just maybe think of a new way to do your budget that you've never thought of before.
That's fun, because we all want a new way, because we're at this stage of our life and we're wanting more money at the end of the day. We're wanting less debt. Chances are we're not quite doing something right that's working for us. Right? So why not explore a new way? Is there anything else you guys want to add before we end our time here?
Yeah. And the new way is pretty. Okay. And there's check boxes. So what I was going to say is we want to make this short and sweet so people can feel like they finished something. Don't you hate like not completing a podcast episode? But we're going to take that energy. We put that whole energy into our budget. There are check boxes. Like when you check it off, it grays out. Like, we are not messing around with this budget system. And we also have walkthroughs that tell you exactly how to set everything up. But the other thing that people can do, if they aren't tired of us, if they liked us, okay, if we didn't talk too much, come over to our podcast, Financial Coaching for Women, where we specifically talk about budgeting. Like, that's our jam. And we could help you theoretically on your journey.
Fire journey.
Yeah.
So much fun. Thank you, ladies, for joining me on the call today.
All right. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Thanks for having us.